Hey everyone, Nico Play Nick here, and today we're looking over the unit Kasumi. Okay, so let's get right into it. So Kasumi is a unit that revolves around crit damage and crit rate buffing of herself. So when she appears on the battlefield, she steals all enemy invincible and shield effects. We're talking about Shanty, Karaya, starting shields you would get in like PvP and a few other modes that give it to you. I don't remember them off the top of my head. But yeah, so she takes that and gives it to herself, and as well as giving herself 55% crit damage buff, which is really huge, right? Because crits do a crazy amount of damage, and buffing the damage that these crits are going to do is really big. But the question is, how can we get her to do those crits? Well, that's where her ability comes in. So she does 330% in a column, whichever column she's in, and she'll lose 40% of her HP, but increase her crit rate by 60%, which is huge. Well, 60% at my star level, right? It'll be a little bit lower for you. I think it's 45% for you guys, and it becomes 60 at 6 stars. We'll check in the lens upgrade. So yeah. So what this means is that she needs some sort of babysitting to stay alive, some sort of protection. Her biggest weakness is going to be AoE units that can get past those blockers. So we have to find ways to keep her alive with them. So let's look at her lens upgrades over here. So grade 4 standard, we're looking at an increase in damage. So nothing too special here. 5-star is her biggest boost. So we're looking at an increase in damage rate by 11% for 3 rounds for each effect stolen. So if she steals a total of 3 effects, that's a 33% damage rate buff, and we've discussed damage rate multiple times, and that it's a lot better than attack percent buff, right? It's a lot higher of a boost. Damage, 100% damage rate up is considered 2 times damage. Just so you guys are aware. That's what you'll get at 5-star, which is huge. With that in mind, with the added bonus and all this, she just will be able to just decimate anything in that column that you're hitting. Especially the leader's going to get hit really hard. So it's something it's a really dangerous weapon, and it's something that can be used really easily in things like aggro teams to just rush down the leader really easily, or maybe even finish it off towards the end if they're spawning too many minions in front and you can't reach the leader, right? So that's kind of how you want to play her. Her special is, no pun intended, nothing special, but it increases her crit rate by 25%, and you only lose about 5% of her HP when she does that, but already a 60% buff, you're pretty good to hit the crit at that point, right? So let's look at unit synergies. So the first one we're going to look at is Yuffie. I talked about this in the free-to-play sword comp, but basically Yuffie buffs AoE damage, and Kasumi is one of those units that's going to benefit from that. She is an AoE unit, and she can take advantage of that damage buff and do more, right, essentially, which is always a plus for a unit like Kasumi, whose whole job is to just deal as much damage as possible and get that lane clear for the leader. So the next unit we're going to look at is Diamond. Diamond, basically you play Kasumi, sorry, let me be specific, you play Kasumi down, do the damage, you lose some health, play Diamond, bounce her back into your hand, and now your Kasumi's attack gets buffed by 80%, and her HP, her max HP, gets buffed by 55%. Right, so that's pretty big. Something to keep in mind. We can look at stuff like Amon for rezzing. Angela is really good as well because you can res with her, and you can also taunt to take away some aggro from Kasumi. But she's not really one that I feature in the guide because I think she gets overshadowed by a few other units that work a little bit better with Kasumi, but she is one to consider, same with Amon. The other one that we can look at is Karaya and Anna. So let's look at Karaya first because there's something specific I want to talk about her, and it falls into the same category as Shanty. In PvP, you can basically, if you're having trouble with some of your matches, you can bait it so that you shield with Karaya or invincible with Shanty, get their Kasumi to steal it, and then play yours to steal it back, which is kind of troll, but can come in handy to kind of help you out. On top of that, Karaya, what makes her so good with Kasumi is that she can shield, and Kasumi, her 40% health that she takes away gets taken from shields first, right? It acts as damage done to herself, and the shields will take it. So just something to keep in mind. It helps her stay alive. The other one I want to show you guys is Anna. So Anna is just pretty standard stuff. So when Anna's present, she boosts the damage rate by 16% and her damage resistant rate by 16%. So that's for all your allied partners. That's big because Kasumi can stay alive, can do more damage, but on top of that, the heals that Anna's going to be giving is going to be really fast and a lot. So it's going to be able to keep that Kasumi alive consistently, and especially in modes like Crusade where there's only like one target most of the time, and the bosses get really big on health. Having Anna there to keep healing the Kasumi up so she's not kind of killing herself in a way is going to be big, especially if the single boss is an AoE boss, right? So just things to keep in mind. Other healers work as well. But that's the gist of it. The last unit I want to touch up on is Vivian. Vivian, I talked about her in the Vivian guide, but the 1-2 combo of placing Vivian, then Kasumi right after is a really nice combo. It works really well, so something to consider because Vivian then acts as a blocker. Kasumi is also an expensive unit, so Vivian with that 9 energy reduction is pretty huge, or even 6 at 3-star. Okay, so let's look at gear super quick. So the gear we're going to look at, okay, so there's multiple options for gear for Kasumi. So don't stress if you don't have the stuff I recommend. I'll tell you what stats to look out for, which could potentially help. So yeah. So let's look at the first thing. I would recommend the wine glass for her accessory. It's nice. Some lifesteal will help stay alive. 6% attack is solid. All in all, it's not really, you can't go wrong with this item. It's really good. The next thing we're going to look at is her sword. You need to find her sword because the organization in this is the worst. Here we go. That's actually not her sword. Where is that? I know I picked up a copy when I bought the pack. That's right, I didn't level it because I didn't have enough copies. So let's see. So sorry. Found all the other pieces of gear to talk about except for this one. There it is. I am blind. Okay. The Butterfly Hunter. So it increases her attack by 1% at level 1, obviously, but it's going to go higher as you increase it. But it also does damage to leader, and we talked about how good damage is in general, which is a lot better than attack buffing. So it's just that extra % damage to leader is going to be huge, right? So this is a great item if you're trying to rush down. You can use other items. You can use other items that buff attack, or like this one if you plan to play her later. There's a few options. It doesn't have to be this one. You can do this if you want more lifesteal, whatever floats your boat, but like I personally prefer this. I think this will be a great option if you can max it out. The second thing you're looking at is this. Now, in general, this doesn't look like that good of an item, but hear me out. Basically, the biggest weakness Kasumi has is AoE, right? So if you can block and you're not worried about single target, the only thing that can get through that kind of defense is AoE units that can kind of sniper from anywhere. So this is going to reduce the damage of the one thing that's going to really hurt you the most. So that's why I recommend it. Out of all the really defensive items you can get. Now I know this item's good, but you don't want her getting attacked, right? That's more of a gemmy items. My personal preference, this one. And the last thing we're going to look at is her shoes, which are these. We're looking at a crit power boost and HP boost, which is solid either way because she does crits, right? So buffing that crit power is really big. That will be pretty much it for gear. Team comps that she goes in, I'm not going to build a bunch of comps now, but basically the kind of comps we're looking at is aggro, low cost aggro. She can fit in as like one of the few high cost units. High cost aggro can work. Sork she fits into. Balanced team she fits into, but she fights for a spot with Jemmy. There's really a lot of options. She doesn't fit in Spirit Healer in my opinion. You can use her, but I much prefer Jemmy and Spirit Healer, so I really wouldn't put her in there. But for most other comp, she can work extremely well. So just, yeah, she's a very, very useful unit to build because she fits in a lot of comps overall. So that's pretty much it. That's my overall guide on Kasumi. That basically covers everything you need to know about her, and I'll see you guys in the next video.